for joining us for one of our weekly Fortune 500 focused webinars. My name is Sam and I will be your moderator today. And in just a second, we're going to be joined by Michael Korjit. In today's webinar, Michael will explore various distribution options with you, like 72T and post-55 separation for those of you who decide to leave your company before the age of 59 and a half in order to help you attempt to avoid penalties and tax implications. Before Michael comes on, though, I'd like to just very quickly remind you that we are not affiliated nor endorsed whatsoever by any specific company. We are a completely independent group of financial advisors here, so please keep that in mind as you're listening along. Throughout the presentation, I will be entering some links into the chat box, so I invite you to pop open that chat box and follow along. There will be several resources that Michael will reference. They will lead you to book an appointment with Michael or one of his colleagues, and also to the complimentary cash flow analysis where you can get started on your retirement journey. And without further ado, here is Michael Korjit.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I appreciate your time. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of options or ways that you can access your qualified retirement assets while at a time when you think you couldn't, like when everybody thinks that you only have the ability to access your IRAs and your 401ks when you're 59 and a half. Well, that is not the case. We're going to talk about a couple of options that allow you to access those accounts sooner than 59 and a half. And a lot of advisors don't even talk to folks about this. We make a point of talking about both of these options because we work with people day in and day out who do retire sooner, 50, 52, 55, 57 years old. I've even retired 48-year-olds from the phone company before because they can. So let's go ahead and dive into today's material. Did you know you could make early withdrawals from your 401k? And you can, and unfortunately, a lot of people didn't realize that they could. And look at the amount of money that folks have had to pay in that 10% federal excise penalty, over $6 billion in penalties in 2023 alone. And that's just because they didn't know about these options. The first is the 72T or the substantial and equal periodic payments rule. 72T is just a IRS code, so that's where it's listed, but it allows you to make penalty-free withdrawals from your 401k or your IRA prior to 59 and a half. It requires a minimum of annual distributions, but you can make these distributions semi-annually, quarterly, or even monthly, whatever makes the most sense for you. It is an IRS-approved method that does allow individuals prior to the age of 59 and a half to make withdrawals from their IRAs and or their 401ks. Now, one thing you've got to keep in mind, and I'll talk about the three different methods here momentarily, but once you establish a 72T withdrawal stream, you're going to have to learn to live with it, all right? You cannot change it. If you choose to change it, you're going to subject yourself to the taxes, and the penalties on all the withdrawals that you've made subject to a 72T withdrawal, all right? There are three different methods that are used. So there's a formula and a calculator that we utilize to determine what a monthly, semi-annually, or an annual distribution would be from a specific IRA account value. The required minimum distribution method, that's the typical method that produces the smallest dollar amount. Well, what's the point? But it is one of the options. The amortization method is just that. It spreads the balance of your withdrawals over your life expectancy. And then finally, the annuity method provides a fixed or a mid-range withdrawal amount. So the amortization method typically is the largest withdrawal amount, while the RMD method is the smallest withdrawal amount. But just so you know, there are essentially three different factors that go into this calculation. One is your age, which equates to your life expectancy. Two is the amount of money that is in the IRA or what you plan to leave in an IRA. And then three, there's a midterm interest rate that's published by the IRS each and every month. We're allowed to look at those rates as of today, the most previous month, and the two previous months prior to that. That interest rate does impact the overall withdrawal amount. along with your life expectancy. So here's an example of a substantial and equal periodic payment. That's what I called it earlier, or 72T, where let's just say you've got $400,000 and you in your 401k and you retire, you're 53 years old, you want to roll it over into an IRA. Well, you don't want to subject all of your IRA assets to the 72T. All right. You want to have some flexibility. So why not set up a 72T withdrawal stream on a smaller IRA? Let's split up our $400,000 IRA into a $250,000 and a $150,000 account. And let's start a withdrawal stream on the bigger IRA. And as you can see here in this example, you're going to get $20,000 a year approximately from a $250,000 IRA. Let's just assume that maybe a year or two down the road, you're not getting enough income, or let's say you went to work in a part-time job and you decided to quit that part-time job and you just needed more money. You can also then start a second 72T by, even if you want to, breaking up IRA number 2 into a smaller IRA number 2, starting a stream here in this example of $6,000 a year, and then leaving another portion in what we like to call an emergency IRA. So again, the 72T allows you to make withdrawals. It is subject to both federal and state income tax, but it eliminates the 10% excise penalty, that 10% penalty that everyone knows about and worries about making withdrawals early from an IRA. And I did mention a 53-year-old, okay? A 52-year-old, a 54-year-old, a 50-year-old, anyone that's younger than 55 is really where the 72T makes the most sense. And oh, by the way, leaving that emergency IRA aside, where you've got 2 income streams that are not subject to the 10% withdrawal, you can certainly make a withdrawal from the emergency IRA. It would be subject to taxes and the 10% penalty, but it does not impact the withdrawals that you've got your other 72Ts that are tied to it, okay? I more or less touched on some of this already, but the payments must be taken over the greater of 5 years or the age of 59 and a half. Again, they have to be made up over the greater of the two. So my 53-year-old won't be 59 and a half for 6.5 years. So if we establish one, it's going to be subject to a 6.5 year period. If they, by chance, that we started that second IRA withdrawal when they were 56 years old, again, it's the greater of 5 years or 59 and a half. So that second income stream, or that second 72T, we like to call it, you'd have to do it until you were 61 years of age. All right. Those early withdrawals do allow, again, tax deferred growth in your IRA. The withdrawals are taxable, again, at the federal and the state level, but we are eliminating the 10% federal excise penalty. There are some specific circumstances that allow you to make withdrawals from an IRA that avoid the 10% penalty. Many of them are listed here: unreimbursed medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, health insurance premiums, primarily for those that are unemployed for 12 weeks' time. There's a death in the family or a death of the participant where the assets are going to transfer to a spousal IRA or your children, what we call a non-spousal IRA. And then there's this $10,000 withdrawal that can be made for first-time home buyers. But also some penalty exceptions include disability, disaster recovery. There's a $22,000 withdrawal option available if your area has been deemed to be a federal disaster area. Certain higher education expenses are an option, as well as a small emergency personal expense allowance. And again, these are all exceptions that are subject to, that eliminate that 10% penalty. And then there are some hardship distributions. You want to check with your resource department on your 401k as well. Also note that early withdrawals from a 401k that are done prior to age 55 are going to be subject to a 10% penalty. Let's go ahead and what is deemed a not tax penalty free does not mean tax free. Essentially, again, we're just talking about a option that will allow you to make withdrawals from your IRAs prior to 59 and a half and avoid the 10% penalty. It's really a penalty. It's a tax, but it's a penalty. Your withdrawals are still subject to federal and state income taxes. On non-deductible IRAs, you're making contributions with after-tax dollars. Withdrawals from those IRAs with principal are not taxable, but the growth is taxable. And then finally, Roth IRAs, a little different tax treatment. That's after-tax money that grows in tax-free. Essentially, you do have to leave the money there. It is penalty-free and tax-free after the age of 59 and a half. And that Roth has to be open for the greater of 5 years. A lot of different rules here, subject to things, but again, it's really a neat option to enable you to make withdrawals, especially if you're younger than age 55. All right, now let's talk about rule of 55, or what we like to call post 55. This allows individuals who are 55 years of age or older, or are going to be 55 the year that they choose to leave their last employer. It allows them to make withdrawals from their 401k balance. Okay, we're not talking about IRAs anymore. But again, you may have IRAs outside of this 401k, or this may be your last 401k from your most recent employer. So if you're going to turn 55 this year or are 55 this year, you can make penalty-free withdrawals in any amount from your 401k. Most 401k plan participants are not aware of this, and most plan providers offer this option on a somewhat we like to call a limited basis. Many employers will allow you to make 3 or 4 withdrawals a year. So if you're going to use this option as a planning tool to provide yourself with some income between the age of 55 and 59 and a half, you're going to want to plan to essentially say, hey, I'm going to need X amount of dollars for this quarter, the next 3 months. And that's what I'm going to take out of my IRA. I'm sorry, out of my 401k. 3 months later, hey, things have changed. Maybe I don't have to make a withdrawal, or I'll make it a smaller withdrawal. Or my daughter's getting married and now I need to make a bigger withdrawal for wedding expenses. Okay. Any of those withdrawals in any amount are not subject to the 10% penalty, but they are subject to the federal and state income taxes, taxes ordinary income. So again, along with all other household income, you want to be careful not to put yourself into higher income tax brackets. We're talking about this rule only applies if you leave your employer. You cannot do this if you're still employed with that employer. It also only applies to your last employer 401k. So if you left a 401k with company A and went to work for company B, you might as well roll over company A's 401k into an IRA because it's no longer an option. If you do contribute to company B's plan for a bunch of years and leave them, and then you truly are retiring, then that's the 401k you're going to want to subject your rule of 55 to, all right? If you're still employed, you do have the ability to borrow against your 401k. It's essentially, you can borrow up to 50% of your vested account balance or the greater of that in $50,000. You do have to pay it back, typically amortized over 5 years, can be 10 years if it's for a home purchase. You do get charged interest, but that interest goes back into your account. It is payroll deducted, and most of your plan providers will provide you with a calculator. Hey, I want to make a $20,000 withdrawal. I could get an idea of how much per pay period my loan repayment is going to be. So again, I've touched on 2 planning tools that, again, a lot of people really don't know about. post 55 and 72T. You know, everything, the world is changing. A lot of the employers that we work with are certainly cutting employees, some cases left and right. So your best bet is to have a plan. Take advantage of an opportunity for us here at the Retirement Group to put a plan together for you, to show you where you stand, where you're at right now, and where you're going to be 5, 10, 25 years from now. It's a complimentary service that we're happy to offer you, and we would look forward to that opportunity. The better off you are, you're going to be better off if you have a plan in place. And why would you want to consider the Retirement Group? Well, we've certainly got a lot of experience. We've been working with a number of these Fortune 500 companies for upwards of 30 years. We've got offices all over the country. I myself am based here in the Midwest. We've got a great deal of knowledge on all of your savings plans, your pension plans, and your healthcare programs. And we do offer that complimentary financial service. So please keep that in mind. You can schedule a meeting with myself or one of my colleagues by scanning this QR code here on the left. You can also call our office at 800-900-5867. Send us an email at info@theretirementgroup.com, or scan the QR code on the right and follow our LinkedIn page, where we have all sorts of great information available to individuals. So with all that, I appreciate everyone's time. I hope this has been helpful. I've always enjoyed talking about these two subjects. And now I'm going to hand the meeting back over to Sam to see if we've got any questions. Sam.
Thank you, Michael. What a great presentation.
Thank you.
We are going to answer just a couple. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. Can I utilize post 55 and 72T options if a portion of my funds reside in an IRA alongside a 401k account?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. I mentioned a brief example. You worked for Company A and you left them when you were 50 years old, and you rolled over 20 years worth of a 401k into an IRA. Okay, now you're 52 years old or 53 years old. You went to work for Company B for a few years. Then you realized, hey, I'm in good enough shape. I'm going to retire. But you've got a 401k balance with your new employer. Okay, yes, you can do a 72T on the big IRA, but you can't do a post 55 withdrawal. Now, with that said, if you're 55 years of age, you can do one or the other or both. You could do post 55 on your, as I said, your last 401k. But if you want to, you can also set up a steady income stream using a 72T from an IRA or multiple IRAs that you've got on the outside. Hope that was helpful.
Thank you. Before we get to the second one, I wanted to just remind everybody that there are several links in the chat you can take advantage of. There's one for the complimentary cash flow analysis that Michael has mentioned, and then they're just to book an appointment with Michael. If we don't get to all of your questions, we apologize in advance, but click those links and book that appointment. Alrighty, Michael, second question. What happens if I must take a distribution larger than the estimated SEPP/RMD?
Another great question. As I mentioned, once you establish a withdrawal stream from a specific IRA, you really don't want to change it. You want to do everything you can to avoid it. Okay. Hopefully you've got another IRA that you could make that withdrawal from. And we always talk to people about this. If you think you might have to do this, take your qualified plan assets and divide them up into multiple IRA accounts. They can be with the same custodian, like Charles Schwab, who we use. But I really, really want to say don't do it. Now, if you've only got the one IRA and you've been doing a withdrawal and you've got to make a change, there's no way around it. Yes, you can make that withdrawal, but the problem is you're going to subject all of the withdrawals that you've made, including that one, you're going to subject them all to the 10% penalty. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful, okay? Set up an emergency IRA just for that purpose. The daughter getting married, you need to buy a new car, whatever it might be, if you can.
All righty, thank you. We're going to do one more. Will my Social Security benefits be impacted by distributions under the 72T provision?
It's another great question, and the answer is no. Social Security will not be impacted by passive income from an IRA. If you do choose to take your Social Security prior to full retirement age, you do have to be careful on the amount of money that you have in earned income with a full or a part-time job. But any withdrawals from your IRA will not impact your Social Security benefits.
All righty, Michael, that was it. That was all we had time for today. I want to first thank you, Michael, for being with us today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope that you gained a lot from this presentation and that we'll see you on another presentation very soon. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks, Michael.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.